Hans Schmidt, the most evil priest in American history. The Catholic Church has seen its share of scandals, but few stories are as chilling as that of Hans Schmidt, the only priest in American history to be executed for murder. His tale is one of twisted devotion, unspeakable violence, and a dark descent into madness. This is the story of a man who wore the cloth of a priest but harbored the soul of a monster. Hans Schmidt was born in 1881 in Aschaffenburg, Germany, into a family plagued by mental illness and abuse. His father was a violent man, known for beating his wife and children. From an early age, Hans exhibited disturbing behavior. He was fascinated by blood, often harming animals and even drinking their blood. Despite these red flags, Hans was deeply religious, and his family pushed him toward the priesthood. In 1904, he was ordained by Bishop George Kirstein, though Hans later claimed he had been ordained the night before by a vision of Saint Elizabeth. He said she appeared to him in a blinding light and told him, "I ordain you to the priesthood." Whether this was a delusion or a lie, it was a glimpse into the fractured mind of a man who would soon spiral into darkness. Hans's first assignment as a priest was in Kentucky, but his erratic behavior quickly got him into trouble. He performed mass in bizarre, unorthodox ways and was accused of sexually assaulting altar boys. The church, eager to avoid scandal, transferred him to St. Boniface Church in New York City. It was there that Hans met Anna Aumüller, a young Hungarian immigrant who worked as a housekeeper at the parish. Anna was beautiful, devout, and kind, everything Hans was not. He became obsessed with her, claiming that God had told him to love her. At first, Anna rejected his advances, but Hans was persistent. Eventually, she gave in, and the two began a secret affair. Hans even went so far as to perform a secret marriage ceremony, forging a marriage license to make it official. He promised Anna he would leave the priesthood for her, but his promises were as hollow as his faith. Hans's obsession with Anna took a dark turn when he claimed that God had commanded him to sacrifice her. Anna laughed it off, thinking it was just another one of his strange outbursts. But Hans was deadly serious. In September 1913, he lured Anna to an apartment they had rented together. While she slept, he slit her throat, drank her blood, and raped her as she lay dying. Afterward, he dismembered her body, wrapped the pieces in pillowcases, and dumped them into the Hudson River. The next morning, Hans calmly performed mass as if nothing had happened. Anna's body parts began washing ashore, wrapped in pillowcases with the manufacturer's tag still attached. Police traced the tag to a furniture store owned by George Sachs, who provided receipts showing that a man named A. Van Dyke had purchased the pillows. The address led them to an apartment at 68 Bradhurst Avenue, where they found traces of blood and letters addressed to Anna. The trail eventually led them to St. Boniface Church and Hans Schmidt. When confronted, Hans confessed immediately. "I killed her. I killed her because I loved her," he declared. But his confession was only the beginning of the horror. Hans's trial was a media sensation. His defense team argued that he was insane, pointing to his family history of mental illness and his claims of hearing voices. They even used his bisexuality as evidence of his instability. But the prosecution argued that Hans was fully aware of his actions, citing his meticulous efforts to cover up the crime. The first trial ended in a hung jury, but the second trial sealed his fate. A key witness came forward, a German immigrant who testified that Hans had tried to take out a $5,000 life insurance policy on Anna just weeks before her murder. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found Hans guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to death. As he awaited execution, Hans showed no remorse. When asked if he had any last words before the electric chair, he calmly said, "I beg forgiveness of all I have offended or scandalized, and I forgive all who have offended against me." On February 18, 1916, Hans Schmidt became the first and only priest in American history to be executed for murder. But the story doesn't end there. Investigators believe Hans may have been responsible for at least 4 other deaths. He was linked to the disappearance of Helen Green, a woman who vanished a month before Anna's murder. He was also connected to the deaths of two children, a young boy who disappeared after being seen with Hans and a girl named Alma Kellner, whose body was found buried in the basement of the Kentucky church where Hans had once served. Though another man was convicted of Alma's murder, her family later believed Hans was the true killer. Hans Schmidt's legacy is one of unimaginable evil. He used his position as a priest to prey on the vulnerable, masking his crimes behind a facade of piety. His story serves as a chilling reminder that evil can hide in the most unexpected places, even behind the collar of a priest. This story is not an indictment of the Catholic Church but a spotlight on one man's descent into darkness. Hans Schmidt's crimes were his own, and his story stands as a testament to the importance of vigilance, accountability, and justice.